If someone had asked me when I was younger what it felt like to lose everything,
I would have laughed.
after all, I had a husband who said I was the only woman in his heart. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. The man who once held my hand and promised to understand me became emperor, and the woman he truly fell in love with was my sister. Born of the same mother, yet in every way I fell short of my elder sister. My temperament wasn't likable, my looks were a step behind hers, and even my marriage was considered inferior. My elder sister became the crown princess of the Eastern Palace. I was married to the third prince, He Qixing. Fortunately, He Qixing understood me. It doesn't matter, he comforted me. I'm also inferior to my crown prince brother in every way. Yunying, he said softly, in my heart, you are the very best. But the crown prince died unexpectedly. He Qixing ascended the throne and became emperor. My elder sister, dressed in plain mourning robes, stepped forward and bowed gracefully before him. He stared at her, completely transfixed.
1.
He Qixing made my elder sister the empress and granted me the title of noble consort. It should have been the other way around. But I was too stubborn, and I never knew how to soften my words. One day after court, He Qixing came to see me, full of excitement. An attendant followed behind him, trembling slightly as he carried a tray piled with possible honorific titles. He Qixing asked me to choose one for my elder sister. You two sisters share the same heart. Whatever you choose, she'll surely like. The imperial household department had carefully tried to guess the emperor's intentions, so every title on the tray was filled with auspicious, elegant characters. Zhao Chun, Zhenjing, Desian Li Ming. I couldn't pick one. I truly couldn't. So distressed that, one by one, I crumpled the slips of paper in my hands. Right in front of He Qixing, I tossed them into the brazier. They burned to ashes. The smile on his face froze. His lips trembled slightly before he flicked his sleeve and stormed off. A few days later, he couldn't hold back any longer. He brought me a box of white pear cakes from Yunhua workshop to make peace. Since entering the palace, this sweet had been what I missed the most. I ate the pastries, had dinner, and drank some wine. When the mood grew warm and intimate, the slightly drunken He Qixing reached out and stroked my cheek. But the name he murmured was Fangran. Fangran. That was not my name. It was my elder sister's. The flush on my cheeks vanished instantly. What replaced it was a deathly pale white. I kicked He Qixing straight off the couch. After that, he came to see me several times, but I refused to open the door. Somehow, the news leaked out. The new emperor had taken a liking to the former crown princess, his own widowed sister-in-law, his wife's elder sister. Court censors slammed their heads against the pillars in protest. The officials were furious. They condemned He Qixing for violating moral boundaries, unfit to be a ruler. My elder sister couldn't bear the accusations. She threw herself into the lake. When I rushed there with my attendants, He Qixing had already jumped in himself and pulled her out. He was soaked through, shivering all over. Yet he still removed his cloak and draped it over my elder sister's shoulders. Then he rushed over to me in a few strides and slapped me across the face in front of everyone. Pointing at my nose, he shouted, "Xie Yunying, she is your own sister. I am the emperor. What's wrong with wanting to be with the woman I love? Are you really so jealous that you drive her to death?" The next day, an imperial decree was issued. My elder sister wore the phoenix crown and the formal robes of an empress. She personally delivered the decree granting me my consort title. When I knelt to receive it, she leaned close to my ear. With an intimate smile, she whispered, "Little sister, this time I win again."
2.
Since childhood, Xie Fangran had always been the one who won. She was gentle and charming, beautiful and highly talented. She was the model noble lady of the capital. Whenever people mentioned the eldest daughter of the Xie family, Xie Fangran, everyone praised her endlessly. But when the conversation turned to the second daughter, Xie Yunying,
people would always sigh first.
Well, she's quite pretty too. But unfortunately, she's not as good as her elder sister. At a flower-viewing banquet, the son of a high-ranking minister tried to grope me. I grabbed his sleeve and cried out for help. Xie Fangran immediately stepped in to smooth things over. "My younger sister doesn't understand social grace," she said gently. "She must have misunderstood the young master's good intentions. Please forgive her." Grandmother once gave both Xie Fangran and me a set of new clothes. Mother looked at them again and again. She said the rose-red dress suited Xie Fangran. Her fair skin made it look beautiful. The sky-blue dress suited Xie Fangran as well. Her elegant temperament made it stand out. As for me, my figure wasn't slender enough, my skin wasn't delicate, and my manners were too rough. I might as well wear mother's old clothes. Dull colors would suppress my temper a little. That way, I might look more dignified and perhaps still find someone willing to marry me. The Grand Princess once hosted a poetry gathering. Xie Fangran finished her poem in just a few strokes, while I spent a long time thinking. Before I even put down my brush, she snatched my poem scroll away. The more she read, the brighter her eyes became. Yet she said aloud, "Even if my sister couldn't compose her own poem, she shouldn't copy one of my old works. I wrote this poem years ago. Submitting it to the princess now would be quite careless." Just then, the Grand Princess happened to pass by. After reading the old poem, she praised Xie Fangran as the most talented young lady in the capital. She recommended her to the Crown Prince and the Empress. And that was how she became the Crown Princess of the Eastern Palace. With a casual flourish of his brush, the Emperor arranged a marriage for me as well. He had another son, the Third Prince, born to a palace maid, idle and unambitious, with rather mediocre abilities. Paired with me, the not-so-outstanding second miss of the Xie family. It seemed perfectly fitting. On our wedding night, He Qixing lifted my bridal veil. His eyes were full of astonishment. At first, I kept my distance from him, but he never lost heart. Every day, he followed me around, coming up with new ways to make me laugh. In the Third Prince's residence, for the first time in my life, I felt something I had never known before, that someone could truly place me in the center of their heart and eyes, putting me first in everything. Little by little, I began to open my heart to He Qixing. I even told him a few stories from my past. He Qixing pulled me into his arms, his voice filled with sympathy. "I understand, Yunying. I really do. Since childhood, people have always said I'm inferior to my Crown Prince brother in every way. But it doesn't matter. In my heart, Yunying, you will always be the best." I believed him. I shouldn't have. 3. After He Qixing's anger cooled down, he finally realized that I had never laid a hand on Xie Fangran, nor had the news been leaked by me. He felt somewhat guilty and didn't dare come see me. Instead, he let my mother enter the palace to visit me, hoping she could help reconcile us. I sat upright in the palace hall. From early morning until the sun tilted toward the west. I waited until there was only a quarter of an hour left before she had to leave the palace. Only then did my mother appear hurriedly at the entrance of the hall. The moment she opened her mouth, she said, "Xie Yunying, Fangran has already told me everything. It was your jealous temper and refusal to tolerate others that angered His Majesty and got you demoted to noble consort. The Empress's throne slipped right out of your hands. If that happened, you can only blame yourself. No one else is at fault." So she had been in Xie Fangran's palace the entire time. When mother and daughter reunite, there's always endless things to say. Only when it was almost time to leave did she wipe away her tears and remember that I existed. My mother looked me up and down several times, scolding me nonstop. "Have you even looked at yourself in the mirror? The only reason you were able to marry His Majesty and be made noble consort today is thanks to Fangran's good fortune rubbing off on you. Besides, there is a proper order between elder and younger. If the former crown prince were still alive, that empress's throne would have belonged to Fangran in the first place. And you still dare to resent it? Which rank is more honorable, noble consort or prince's wife? Don't you understand that much? How did I give birth to such a foolish, dull daughter? You're living in good fortune and don't even know it." I closed my eyes. Then I ordered the palace servants to escort her out. He Qixing assumed that after seeing my mother, I must feel much better. That night, he came to my palace for dinner with a smile on his face. And I truly was much gentler than usual. I personally poured him wine and served him dishes. Then I picked up my pipa and played a southern folk tune he loved. As He Qixing listened, he casually remarked, "Your finger technique, my beloved consort, still falls a little short compared to the Empress. This pipa is wasted on you. In her hands, it would truly be worthy." That pipa had been a gift from He Qixing. A phoenix was painted on its body. He had personally added the final touches, stroke by stroke. I had once treasured it deeply. The music stopped abruptly. He Qixing still had his eyes closed, savoring the sound. When he opened them, he saw me smashing the pipa onto the floor with all my strength. The instrument shattered into pieces. The strings snapped and flew everywhere. One of them scratched his face. He Qixing was both shocked and furious. "Noble consort, have you gone mad? I merely spoke the truth, and yet your heart is so narrow." Lowering my eyes, I smiled.
Yes.
My heart is indeed very narrow. I used to think that since we had been husband and wife for so many years, and once truly understood each other, perhaps this life could still go on if I just endured it. But now I see I overestimated my own tolerance. He Qixing, I don't want to be your noble consort anymore. I want to leave the palace. So far, Yunying has endured humiliation, betrayal, and a broken marriage. But instead of fighting for the throne or revenge, she makes a shocking choice: to leave everything behind. Of course, in the imperial palace, nothing is ever that simple, and every move comes with a price. He Qixing froze. That's impossible. When he came back to his senses, he let out a mocking laugh. The palace walls are deep and high. It's hard enough to enter. Leaving is even harder. If I don't permit it, no one will let you walk out of here. He was certain I was only speaking in anger. Once I ran into obstacles everywhere, I would naturally bow my head to him. But how did he come to such a ridiculous conclusion? With Xie Fangran always above me, I had been running into walls every day for more than 10 years. I was already used to it. A tree dies if you move it. A person lives if they move. Nothing is impossible if you truly act. So I went to serve the Empress Dowager. He Qixing's birth mother had died long ago. The current Empress Dowager had been the late Emperor's Empress, his legal mother. Her own son had died unexpectedly and never inherited the throne. The daughter-in-law she had carefully chosen had climbed into the new emperor's bed and ended up becoming empress. As far as I knew, the Empress Dowager still refused to see Xie Fangran. The thought alone made her furious. Originally, she didn't think much of me either, another daughter of the Xie family. But I visited often, spoke sweetly, and handled things with care. In winter, when water froze the moment it touched the ground, I warmed the Empress Dowager's embroidered shoes in my arms before helping her put them on. She lifted her eyelids and glanced at me. After dismissing everyone else, she asked, "I know the emperor demoted his wife to a concubine. That was improper. You are a good child. If you want something, just say it." She expected me to ask her to reprimand Xie Fangran, to ask for an imperial decree to strip Xie Fangran of the empress title and restore justice for me. But I bowed low to the floor and spoke softly. I wish to leave the palace and never see His Majesty again in this lifetime. I begged the Empress Dowager to grant my request. The candlelight flickered. She was silent for a long time. Yet she did not scold me for treasonous words. Instead, she said, "When I was young, I once thought the same thing you do now. You are fortunate. You and the emperor never had children together, and you are prouder than I was. But you must think carefully. The imperial palace holds the greatest wealth and power under heaven. Once you walk this path, there will be no turning back. People like us inside the palace, we may lose for a time, but in the end we always win." I did not lift my head. Winning or losing doesn't matter. What matters is sincerity. Losing to Xie Fangran was not a big deal. If He Qixing had never made my heart move, if he had never told me he understood me, understood my suffering, then I would have gladly held on to that small trace of guilt he felt toward me. I would have continued living as a pampered noble consort, quietly waiting for the day my fortunes turned. But now that was impossible. When I saw his face, heard his voice, or met his eyes, I felt nauseous, sourness rising straight from my stomach. The Empress Dowager sighed. "If your mind is truly made up, I am willing to help you. Get up, child. You have suffered enough in this life." When I stood, I secretly wiped away my tears. The moment I left the Empress Dowager's palace, someone came to summon me on He Qixing's orders. His face was glowing with barely concealed joy. He wanted to share good news with me. Xie Fangran leaned in his arms, her eyes curved in a smile, her cheeks flushed red. "My beloved consort," he said, "the Empress is with child. I'm going to be a father, and you'll be an aunt. The Empress says she only trusts her own sister with this pregnancy. She wants you to take care of her." It was as if he had already forgotten our quarrel. Or perhaps he simply refused to remember the ugliness between Xie Fangran and me. From across the room, my eyes met Xie Fangran's. A cold spread through my entire body. Yet I smiled and said, "Your Majesty, the Empress shouldn't trust me so much. If she lets me take care of her, who knows, one day I might slip her a bowl of safflower broth and end the life of that bastard child."
5.
He Qixing's expression changed drastically. Startled and furious, he grabbed a teacup and hurled it at me. It struck me so hard that I collapsed to my knees. The pale sky-blue glaze of the porcelain was quickly stained with layer upon layer of blood. "Xie Yunying, that's my flesh and blood, your own nephew. Even if your heart is vicious and you're jealous of Fangran, what did an innocent child ever do to you?" His flesh and blood? That might not be so certain. When I had first entered the palace, some people believed I would become empress. They eagerly came to swear loyalty to me. They said that after the crown prince died, the crown princess had grown desperate. Desperate to conceive the late crown prince's posthumous child to secure her status. Back then, there had been a handsome young guard in the Eastern Palace. Not long after He Qixing ascended the throne, that guard disappeared. Now Xie Fangran had climbed into the new emperor's favor. The child she fought so hard to conceive didn't match the timing. What had once been her lifeline had become a fishbone stuck in her throat. Xie Fangran was empress, and I was noble consort. In her eyes, that wasn't enough of a victory. She wanted to use this child to push me into eternal ruin. But I had once been cherished for a few years, and then suddenly discarded again. My heart had grown colder, my bones harder. So I flipped the table and tore the mask away. I refused to play her game. Xie Fangran gently comforted the emperor, saying her younger sister was soft-hearted despite her sharp tongue. That I was merely speaking out of anger. But He Qixing didn't dare take that gamble. He looked at me with a gaze so unfamiliar, as if he were carving me into pieces. He issued an order. The noble consort had disrespected the empress and offended the emperor. I was confined to my palace to reflect on my actions. Before the palace gates were sealed, Xie Fangran personally came to see me. Her crimson-painted nails brushed gently across my cheek in a mockery of affection. "Yunying," she asked softly, "what were you planning? To lose this round so easily, how surprising." Pretending my heart was already dead, I murmured, "Your Majesty the Empress, I understand now. In this lifetime, until the day I die, I will never win against you." Xie Fangran paused for a moment. Then she smiled, a breathtaking, dangerous smile. "That's true. Good Yunying, you still don't know, do you? Back when we were getting married, both the Crown Prince and the Third Prince asked Father for my hand. I'm such a fine woman. Naturally, only the Crown Prince was worthy of me. To comfort the Third Prince, Father settled for the next best option. He gave him you. From the very beginning, He Qixing understood clearly. You are inferior to me. And he was inferior to the Crown Prince. Now that he has become emperor, of course he wants to pluck the moon he couldn't reach before and cultivate the peony he once had no right to keep. And you? You're just the old and out with the old, and the low, in step on the low while praising the high. The palace gates slowly closed. I remained kneeling in place, silent for a long time. Only after a while did I stagger to my feet. So from the very beginning, I had never truly won anything. He Qixing guarded against me strictly. Day and night, people were watching my every move. Ironically, that made it impossible for Xie Fangran to frame me. When her belly began to show, the Empress Dowager issued a decree. She said there were too many troubling matters in the palace. She could no longer stay. She would go to Jian Mountain to pray for the late emperor and the late crown prince. Meanwhile, officials at court quietly criticized He Qixing behind his back, calling him unfilial for angering the Empress Dowager into leaving. Terrified, He Qixing knelt in the Empress Dowager's palace for half a day, begging forgiveness. The Empress Dowager flicked aside the tea leaves in her cup before finally speaking. She demanded that Xie Fangran accompany her, to kneel before the Buddha and apologize to the late crown prince, and accumulate merit for the unborn prince. He Qixing couldn't bear the thought. Jian Mountain was steep and remote, the conditions harsh. If the Empress Dowager went there to pray, she wouldn't return for several months. Xie Fangran had never endured such hardship. And besides, she was pregnant. After thinking it over, his eyes suddenly lit up. He respectfully requested, "Praying to the Buddha is exhausting. Perhaps the noble consort could go in her place. With her serving the Empress Dowager, I would feel at ease." The Empress Dowager looked at him deeply and said meaningfully, "Emperor, you must choose carefully. If you choose the wrong person, you will regret it for the rest of your life." He Qixing did not hesitate. "Let Xie Yunying go. She is the younger one. This is what she should do. I honor the Empress Dowager and cherish the Empress. Naturally, she should share my burden." And so, I left the palace with the Empress Dowager. The mountain roads were treacherous. During the climb, someone startled the noble consort's carriage. The carriage, and the noble consort inside it, plunged straight into the bottomless ravine. The palace believed Yunying had fallen into the abyss and died. But sometimes, death is the only door that leads to freedom. While the capital mourns, or pretends to, her story is quietly beginning again far from the imperial cage. 6. After leaving Jian Mountain, I traveled all the way south to Jiangnan. The Empress Dowager had private properties there. A 5-courtyard mansion. Fertile fields of the finest quality. More than a dozen shops.
Over 10 country estates.
Her trusted stewards lined up in a row, presenting the land deeds and acknowledging me as their new master. I vaguely understood. These were things she had once prepared for herself. In the end, the Empress Dowager chose to remain in the palace. Perhaps for the crown prince. Perhaps for the late emperor. She stayed and fought until the end, becoming the most powerful woman under heaven. Yet she was still willing to extend a hand and help me. To help fulfill the wish she herself once had. The one escorting me was the Empress Dowager's young nephew. Round-faced and cheerful, very likable. He had managed to become a first-rank imperial guard serving directly before the emperor. He traveled between the capital and Jiangnan, passing messages between the Empress Dowager and me. Xie Fangran's pregnancy gradually advanced. One of the imperial physicians could no longer bear the torment of his conscience. At last, he secretly told He Qixing that the Empress's pregnancy timeline didn't match. He Qixing flew into a rage. He punished the physician. But the seed of doubt had already been planted. The Empress Dowager had carefully calculated the timing. Only then did news of my death reach the capital. With just a few casual remarks, she also directed suspicion for the startled horses towards Xie Fangran. She knew everything that happened in the palace. If Xie Fangran became empress, that was He Qixing's business. But if He Qixing intended to recognize a guard's child as the legitimate crown prince, that became the royal family's business. The empire's business. She couldn't accept it. What the Empress Dowager hadn't expected, however, was that this move she had casually arranged would have such astonishing results. Results so extreme that He Qixing went mad. 7. When He Qixing first received the news of my death, he didn't believe it. He treated it like a joke and told Xie Fangran. Xie Fangran laughed until she nearly doubled over. "Your Majesty loves my younger sister too much," she said with a smile. She has never competed for favor or thrown childish tantrums. Now that she suddenly tries something dramatic, it just looks clumsy, almost amusing. But when the Empress Dowager returned to the palace, 120 carriages long, He Qixing watched from beginning to end. And still couldn't find me. Uneasy, he went to see the Empress Dowager. Her palace was eerily quiet. The servants moving about were all dressed in mourning white. Normally, elders don't wear mourning for those younger than themselves, the Empress Dowager said calmly. But the noble consort was your wife once. I sent back news of her death, yet your palace is still decorated with red silks and blooming flowers. She glanced at him lightly. Poor child. No one else pities her. So I will.
What?
Did you think I was like your empress, never speaking a single honest word, helping the noble consort deceive you? He Qixing was stunned. He personally led people to search Juyun Mountain from top to bottom. They found fragments of the carriage. They found broken horse bones. They even found the coral bracelet I often wore. The red cord had snapped. The coral beads were shattered. But they never found me. Imperial guards asked the mountain hunters for information. The old hunter looked at the cliff edge and hesitated before saying, "She couldn't have survived. A horse is big. Sometimes wild animals leave some bones behind. But a person's small frame, soft flesh. You came too late. There won't be anything left." The guards didn't dare repeat those exact words. But He Qixing surrounded the mountain and ordered every beast there killed. They cut open their stomachs, searching for my bones. He clutched the broken red cord of my bracelet, even when a starving wild bear attacked. His eyes were bloodshot with fury as he rushed forward with his sword. The enraged bear struck him with a massive paw. He was gravely wounded. 3 or 4 guards risked their lives to drag him back. He Qixing stayed at the foot of the mountain to recover, staring day and night at that red cord. Like a man possessed, he kept muttering. I tied this on Yunying's wrist myself after praying for it. The monk said it would keep her safe for life. No more storms, no more suffering. Yunying can't be dead.
Yunying isn't dead.
I'm going to bring Yunying home. When the Empress Dowager heard the news, she rushed over and slapped him across the face. His head snapped to the side, and he remained stunned for a long time. If she leaves you in her next life, that's when she'll truly have a life without storms. She's already dead, and now you choose to go mad here? Your mother always cried that the late emperor was heartless. But looking at you, you're the one who resembles him the most. Third Prince, you're no longer some idle royal anymore. You're the emperor. When you lose your mind like this, have you ever thought about the lives on this mountain? About the officials waiting in court? Even then, He Qixing refused to return to the capital. But urgent news arrived from the palace. Xie Fangran had fallen and gone into premature labor. She had planned to blame the child's death on me. But she couldn't. The Empress Dowager's eyes were sharp, and He Qixing had been watching closely. She had finally found an opportunity. She wanted to eliminate this hidden danger. But He Qixing loved her too much. He changed horses 4 times, racing day and night back to the capital. Covered in dust, he burst into Xie Fangran's chambers. The midwife looked panicked, holding a tightly wrapped bundle as she hurried out. The swaddling cloth was wrapped tightly. The midwife's hand still pressed firmly over the baby's face. He Qixing already knew in his heart. This child wasn't meant to live. Xie Fangran had been married to him for barely half a year. Yet some strange instinct stirred within him, compelling him to snatch the bundle away.
He wanted to see the child one last time.
Would the baby resemble Xie Fangran more? Or him? The cloth was pulled back. Inside was a strong, full-term baby boy. And he didn't look like He Qixing at all. The newborn didn't understand why, the moment he entered the world. His own mother had ordered someone to smother him and throw him into a mass grave. All he knew was that he could finally breathe. So he let out a loud cry. sharp as the crack of a whip.
What?
At that very moment, far away in Jiangnan, an old physician was feeling my pulse. After a moment, he nodded with certainty. Madam's stomach troubles aren't from unfamiliar surroundings. You're not suffering from the climate. He smiled. You're pregnant. Yunying has escaped the palace, but the past refuses to stay buried. As the capital falls into chaos and old sins begin to surface, fate quietly brings someone else, long thought dead, back into her path.
8.
I spent an entire night hesitating over whether I should get rid of the child. In the end, I decided to keep him. I would love him very, very much. I would never casually compare him to anyone else. Never grind down his sincerity or his pride again and again. I hoped he would love me just as deeply, and never compare me to anyone else. I wanted to be the best mother in his heart. But when the Empress Dowager's nephew came again to deliver messages, I did not mention the child to him. I didn't dare gamble on the possibility that the Empress Dowager might regret helping me. After all, the capital had already turned into complete chaos. The child Xie Fangran gave birth to was not He Qixing's. Yet, even if they investigated further back, it couldn't possibly belong to the late Crown Prince either. The Empress Dowager was furious. She declared that Xie Fangran had defiled the imperial harem and muddled the royal bloodline. She intended to strip her of the title of empress and grant her poisoned wine, or a length of white silk. Xie Fangran wept like a fragile blossom in the rain. He Qixing protected her with all his might. To him, she had once been the bright moon hanging high in the night sky, the only moon that did not shine on him. Even if that moon was now dim and broken, being able to hold it in his arms was enough for him. But even the moon can fall from the sky and turn into an ordinary stone. The Empress Dowager was so angry she developed a headache and ordered He Qixing to take Xie Fangran and get out. On the palace road, a palace maid looked panicked. The moment she saw He Qixing, she tried to run. He recognized her. She was a second-rank maid who served under Xie Fangran. When the Empress Dowager had gone to the temple to pray, Xie Fangran had said she didn't want her younger sister to work too hard. So she had sent some of her own attendants along to help with the journey. This maid had been one of them. He Qixing ordered his guards to stop her and bring her forward. He wanted to ask where exactly I had fallen from the cliff and what had happened that day. But after only a few questions, the maid began trembling like a leaf. She kowtowed desperately and cried out, "This truly had nothing to do with me, and nothing to do with Her Majesty the Empress either." That day the Empress only told me to keep an eye on the noble consort and stir up a bit of trouble for her. I really don't know why the noble consort's carriage fell off the cliff. The night wind drifted gently through the palace corridors. It wasn't cold, but when He Qixing slowly turned his gaze towards Xie Fangran, she felt as if that look had frozen her in place. For some reason, she suddenly remembered the last words I had said to her. "In this lifetime, until the day I die, I will never win against you." Then what about after death? Could the living ever compete with the dead?
9.
To the outside world, I said I was a widow from the capital. Naturally, that made the child a posthumous son. I named him Xie Heng, though I usually called him Aheng. I hoped that in how he lived and treated others, he would always keep an unwavering heart. As it turned out, I had quite a talent for business. Back when our tutor taught us mathematics, calculations, astronomy, and geography, Xie Fangran had no interest in any of it. But I learned well. The tutor praised me and scolded Xie Fangran for not studying diligently. The very next day, my mother drove him away. Merchants are lowly. Our Fangran doesn't study these things because they're beneath her. Xie Yunying, instead of learning from your elder sister, you put your effort into crooked paths. Now I managed more than a dozen shops. The things Xie Fangran had once looked down on, I turned them into flourishing businesses. During the first few years, the Empress Dowager often sent things to me from the capital. She was afraid I might suffer hardships outside. Whenever she received tribute treasures, silver or gold, she would send her nephew running errands to deliver them. But later on, it was me sending things back to her. He Qixing had been pushed onto the throne like a duck forced onto a perch. Whether it was the court or the imperial harem, he was overwhelmed. As for ruling the realm, he simply wasn't capable. Slowly, the empire began to fall into disorder. The treasury ran dry. River repairs, flood control, disaster relief, defending against foreign enemies, suppressing bandits. Everywhere needed money, and everywhere lacked it. In the end, the burden fell on the imperial harem and the Empress Dowager. Xie Fangran was stripped of her title and thrown into the cold palace. Once, He Qixing had crowned her empress despite everyone's opposition. Now, he could only slap himself in the face with the consequences. He took many new consorts into the palace. The Empress Dowager's niece once told me that the one who had replaced Xie Fangran as the emperor's favorite had a face that looked 80% like mine. I nearly threw up right in front of her. She jumped in surprise and said quietly, "I thought your highness, madam, would feel touched." I rolled my eyes. Then I asked if he had ever been in love or married. As expected, he hadn't. His family had tried to arrange matches for him, but none had worked out. By now he had become the commander of the Imperial Guards. So I teased him. "Commander, you really don't understand how women think. What the emperor did wouldn't move me at all. It would only move himself." He seemed thoughtful as he escorted the gifts I had prepared for the Empress Dowager back to the capital. When I went to Suzhou to purchase goods, Xie begged me to take him along. I knew he was secretly preparing a birthday gift for me. Xie had already started attending school. I had written several poems for him as calligraphy copybooks. He treated them like priceless treasures. He planned to copy them out by hand, then bind them into a small book and give it to me as a gift. Suzhou produced the finest paper and ink. I pretended not to know and brought him along. But on the way back, halfway through the journey, bandits blocked the road. Their leader wore a green robe and had a thick beard stuck onto his face. He spoke politely. "Madam, please don't worry. We won't harm anyone. We only want to take some grain. The villagers, the people in our stronghold, can't get enough to eat, so we had no choice. We'll take the grain and leave." "But, madam, why are you staring at me like that?" It was hard not to stare. He looked familiar. Far too familiar. Wasn't this the late Crown Prince, who had supposedly been dead for years? 10. The late Crown Prince He Chizhou had supposedly died during a southern inspection tour. The late emperor was gravely ill, and the second prince's ambition had grown unchecked. They sabotaged He Qizhou's boat. Hundreds of axe-wielding men swarmed it. It was said they even set it on fire, the flames roaring, illuminating half the river. But the second prince underestimated the Empress Dowager. With a thunderous hand, she laid a trap for him. In front of the late emperor's coffin, she captured the second prince and demanded to know He Qizhou's whereabouts. The second prince swore that He Qizhou was dead. Supposedly struck by countless blades, he had expired on the spot. His body was kicked into the river to feed the fish. Only then did the Empress Dowager lose hope and execute the second prince. She then helped He Qixing ascend to the throne. But as it turned out, He Qizhou had not died. He drifted downstream and was found barely clinging to life. When he woke, all memories of the past were gone, and he remained in the village as a simple schoolteacher. Suzhou's officials were notoriously corrupt. As the country descended into chaos, the villagers couldn't even feed themselves. Starving, they were on the brink of death. He Qizhou had no choice but to rob travelers along the roads with his students. Their first heist ended up right in my hands. I traveled with Xie, cautious in every action. I hired guards for a hefty sum. The bandits were mostly pale, skinny teenagers. The guards dispatched them in no time. When asked if I wanted to report them to the authorities, I shook my head, divided some grain, and sent it back to the villagers. Several children knelt, thanking me for saving their lives. I shook my head and, playful, said casually, "Not for free. This Mr. He of yours looks very much like my late husband. Let him pay the price." I hadn't yet decided how I would handle He Qizhou, but the Empress Dowager had done me a great favor. I couldn't let her biological son slip away again, leaving her to live in grief and remembrance for the rest of her days. I hadn't expected. He Qizhou and He Qixing were naturally very similar. Heng was He Qixing's son, but in his eyes and features, he resembled He Qizhou about 50%. The young gentleman in green ripped off his fake beard and gently cupped Heng's small face. He looked again and again, voice trembling. "Madam, could it be that you—" "Mother." Heng tugged at my sleeve, his voice crisp. "Is Mr. He my unfaithful, irresponsible, second marriage, barely competent father? And lucky he died early? Then now that he's alive, isn't that a bit problematic?" The guards all rolled up their sleeves, eyes flashing with ferocity. It looked as if at my command, they would shred anyone into pieces. The tension was at its peak. A shocking, yet highly feasible thought began to take shape in my mind. I touched Heng's forehead, sighing. "He isn't, but he could be." He Qizhou drew a sharp breath. "No, that's impossible." 11. Back at the residence, I confessed the truth to He Qizhou. Letting Heng recognize him as his father was, of course, a joke. But the empire was in chaos. He Qixing was far from a secure and wise emperor. The Empress Dowager was growing older, and I couldn't bear to see her struggle endlessly over He Qixing's throne. Sending He Qizhou back to the capital, each to their rightful place, each with their own role, turned out to be the most fitting solution. He Qizhou showed little reaction to the idea of returning to the capital to act as emperor. He cared more about the fact that I told him he had married before in the capital. "Why wasn't it you?" He soon grew close to Heng. Pointing to the poems I had written in my youth, which Xie Fangran had taken, he asked in confusion. "If I had read your poems, I would have liked you, right?" I opened my mouth, but said nothing. I only smiled. The world is full of accidents and missteps. After all, he had once been Xie Fangran's husband. I didn't want to gamble on whether he would regain his memory. I didn't want to reopen old wounds, to recount every sordid detail. The last time I did that, I had lost completely. Raising an army and rebelling wasn't as difficult as I imagined. I had people and money. He Qizhou had that face, the face of the late Crown Prince. Those who had harbored grudges against He Qixing for years, or who had mourned He Qizhou's early death, all rallied under him. They sought to storm the capital, restore the dynasty, and achieve a from dragon merit. He Qizhou hadn't regained his memory, but his intelligence and horsemanship remained. All the hidden traps and alliances, supplies and logistics, I cleared them for him. He Qixing had almost no chance to counter. We moved too quickly. By the time we neared the capital, the Empress Dowager sent her nephew to deliver a message. She asked what my intentions were. She knew I was behind it. She knew I had raised the banner of the late Crown Prince to enter the capital. All of this pointed to the same truth, one she had seen countless times in her dreams. Every time she woke, she refused to believe it. I said, smiling, "Commander, convey a message to the Empress Dowager. In a month, it will be her birthday. Yunying, unfilial as she is, has prepared a birthday gift for her. Ask her to come to the city tower herself and see if she approves." The Imperial Guard's commander glanced at me silently. In a low voice, he said, "If Madam truly recognizes him as, I will open the city gates for your highness." And so, on the day we arrived at the city walls, the Empress Dowager herself ascended the tower to confront the traitor impersonating the late Crown Prince. But the moment she saw him, tears filled her eyes. She could barely speak. He Qixing trembled as he tried to help her, only to be violently pushed away. Damn it! I knew at a glance. This is my own son. A mother alone in the world never mistakes her own child. The gates slowly opened. He Qizhou suddenly turned to glance at me. I felt a twinge of doubt, but he said nothing. He simply held the reins of my horse, letting me ride alongside him into the city. As we passed the walls, I looked up and met He Qixing's eyes from the tower. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. Staring blankly, he muttered, "Yunying?"
12.
Once we returned to the capital, everything had changed with the passage of time. By imperial decree, the Empress Dowager announced that He Qizhou had not died. He had only been gravely injured and had been recuperating in Jiangnan. He Qixing had remained loyal to his elder brother, temporarily taking the throne to stabilize the court. Now that He Qizhou had returned, the throne rightfully belonged to him. If He Qixing had governed diligently and built his own administration, the transfer of power might have cost countless lives, and rivers of blood might have been spilled. But most ministers still remembered He Qixing as the one who had elevated his widowed sister-in-law to empress, only to discard her. They remembered him as indulgent in the harem, reckless in his rule, powerless over the empire. He Qixing was confined back to the third prince's mansion, resuming the title of Prince Yong. He Qizhou ascended the throne as emperor, just as I had anticipated. When he hugged the Empress Dowager and shed tears, all of He Qizhou's memories came rushing back. Because we couldn't be sure of his feelings, someone had already rushed to the cold palace to summon Xie Fangran to meet him. Thinking back, I hadn't seen Xie Fangran in ages. She looked exactly as she had the last time we met. A phoenix crown on her head, a phoenix robe embroidered with peonies. Majestic and elegant, smiling with dazzling beauty. Only the hollow cheeks and the wild, post-traumatic joy in her eyes betrayed the suffering she had endured in the cold palace. My dear sister, you faked your death to leave the palace, schemed so cunningly. In the end, wasn't it all to make me a bridal gown? I must thank you, truly. Thank you for returning His Majesty to me and for letting me become empress. Hearing the commotion, He Qizhou lifted his gaze. Xie Fangran, pitiful and frail, threw herself at his feet, crying over the injustice of being forcibly married to her younger brother-in-law, weeping day after day. He Qizhou, however, frowned and said coldly, "Who allowed you to wear the empress's robes? Take her away. Remove the phoenix crown, strip the phoenix robe, and dress her in a criminal's garb." Xie Fangran froze. As the palace attendants tried to lead her away, she glared at me without letting go. Struggling desperately, she pointed at me and shouted, "Your Majesty! Your Majesty! What crime have I committed?" All the mistakes, every single one, are Yunying Xie's fault. She must have been jealous of me, planting all her misdeeds on my head. Your Majesty, you wouldn't actually believe her, would you? This trick had worked countless times since childhood. To everyone else, it seemed natural that I would envy Xie Fangran. I was inferior to her in every way, always left behind. But He Qizhou stopped the attendants. He pinched Xie Fangran's face and deliberately asked, "Is that truly so? Then speak, Xie Fangran. The map of my southern inspection route. Only the late emperor anew knew it. If my father intended to harm me, he would have simply stripped me of the Crown Prince title. And who told my second brother that on that day, I would stop at Anzhouport? You're not going to say it wasn't you, but your sister Yunying, are you?" Xie Fangran was dumbfounded, collapsing to the ground. At the time in the Eastern Palace, she had not been as favored as the rumors suggested. He Qizhou's gaze was sharp. Soon after their marriage, he had already seen through her lies and narrow heart. She was far from the flawless figure everyone believed. Before the southern inspection, He Qizhou had confided in her. If he ascended the throne, he would not make her empress. When the second prince contacted her, he promised her the position if his plan succeeded. Biting her teeth, she had risked everything, leaking the route map to him. But who could have imagined the crown prince's death, the second prince's failure? And in the end, the mediocre third prince seized the opportunity. Along with me, the sister who had always served as her stepping stone. The Empress Dowager frowned. Xie Fangran was dragged away. I was about to withdraw, but He Qizhou tugged my sleeve. Looking straight into my eyes, he asked softly, "Yunying, will you be my empress? I will treat Aheng as my own son. You say the world is full of accidents, yet I read that poem back then, and my heart was moved by the poet. Years have passed, but my heart has never changed. Sometimes the heart's truest choices are never the easiest. Yunying stands at the crossroads of love, duty, and vengeance, faced with a former lover, a loyal husband, and the child that binds them. This next chapter shows how she finally draws the line, protecting her family while facing the shadows of the past that still linger in the palace halls. 13. I gently declined.
It's just a poem, I said.
Your Majesty regretted missing it back then, and you hold the whole world at your feet. You will surely find a lady more suited to your heart. What I seek, I continued, is to be seen as the only choice, with no one else left. He Chizhou leaned forward urgently, as if to declare his heart. But I said, Your Majesty, do you know? Xie Yunying once told me, Yunying will always be the best in his heart. Hearts are fickle. Men can always win, but women too easily lose. Xie Chizhou fell silent. The Empress Dowager then cleared her throat and had my rewards for this journey read aloud. She officially recognized me as her adopted daughter and granted me the title of princess. Xie was given a marquisate, thousands of households, fine horses and fertile fields, gold, pearls, and treasures, countless in number. As for titles like Princess of Yong or the former emperor's consort, no one even mentioned them. The attendants read on until their mouths went dry. Before I left, the Empress Dowager called after me, unusually hesitant. The third prince has been asking to see you. After all, you were once husband and wife. Before leaving the capital, go see him. Take Xie with you. The third prince's mansion felt familiar in every corner. By the red maple tree, I had plucked the pipa for Xie Qixing. His mother, from Jiangnan, hummed her hometown tunes even in her last moments. Under the green-tiled pavilion, we had shared pear cakes from Yunhuafang. Splitting the last piece in half, feeding each other, it was the memory of a simple joy. Xie Qixing gazed at me, and at Xie peeking behind me, as if watching a dream that was right in front of him, yet forever out of reach. After Xie Fangran was cast into the cold palace, she harbored resentment. She bribed someone to poison him, intending to prevent future heirs. Xie was her first child, and also her last. On the surface, it seemed like we had never been apart, a loving couple, a clever only child, enjoying our little world in the third prince's mansion. Xie Qixing remained silent for a long time. He knew that once he spoke, he would shatter this fragile peace. But the time to leave had come. As I turned, Xie Qixing instinctively grasped my hand, wanting to hold me back. Yunying, I wish I could go back to before I was emperor. It feels like I had a nightmare, dreaming that I broke my promise, that you left me alone at the cold bottom of the cliff. Yunying, can you wake me up? Take me back to the past? I looked into his eyes, speaking each word carefully. But Xie Qixing, you never truly chose me. The one you wanted to marry was always my elder sister, Xie Fangran. From the very beginning, I was your second choice. Even if we could go back, what good would it do? His face turned pale instantly. He slowly released my hand. Xie studied him for a long moment, then quietly said, So you're my real dad. I look more like you. You've made Mom sad again thinking about it. Maybe it's better that you're dead. I hurriedly pulled Xie along, leaving the third prince's mansion. The grand gates closed behind us, locking Xie Qixing and all those painful memories deep inside. Not far away, the round-faced commander of the Imperial Guard smiled at us, warmly and cheerfully. He said he had been ordered to escort the princess and the young marquis back to Jiangnan. When we set out again, spring light spilled across the road. And that brings us to the end of the story. Looking back, Yunying never truly lost to her sister in talent or beauty. What she lost was something far more fragile: trust. For years, she believed the one person who finally understood her was the man who stood beside her. The only one who knew what it felt like to live forever in someone else's shadow. But when power arrived, everything changed. The emperor chose the sister he had always admired, and the woman who once shared his quiet loneliness became nothing more than an inconvenience in the palace. Yunying could have stayed. She could have fought for power, played the palace games, and waited for the tides to turn. But in the end, she chose something far rarer in a world like that.
She chose to walk away.
And sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't defeating someone in the palace. It's leaving the game entirely. Only then did the emperor finally realize what he had lost. But by that time, the woman who once loved him was already gone.